This is VK3CSJ in Narre Warren South. Please stand by for this morning's WIA broadcast at 9 a.m. on 1825 kHz in the 160 metre amateur radio band.
This national news edition originates from VK1WIA and is rebroadcast throughout Australia and around the world under a common licence published on the WIA website. This WIA national news service is copyright to the Wireless Institute of Australia, and rebroadcast is authorised only under the provisions of that common licence. WIA Director and Company Secretary Peter Clee, VK8ZZ.
From Australia, this is the Wireless Institute of Australia with the weekly news service. This broadcast is in text, audio and video and is accessed on wia.org.au.
And in WIA National News this week, new radio communications licence conditions, amateur licence determination 2025, will commence the 30th of September. And a fresh look at our breeding ground, CB, here in Australia will align to much of the rest of the world. WIA's Roger Harrison, VK2ZRH, Editor-in-Chief of Amateur Radio Magazine, and WIA Director Stephen Green, VK2TSG, join us. But wait, there's more, much, much more, in this edition of news from the Wireless Institute of Australia for week commencing Sunday, September 21. I'm Editor Graham, VK4 Baker Baker.
This is VK1WIA. All points of contacts from today's news stories are to be found in print when you read the web editions, www.wia.org.au.
Hello, this is one of your national WIA directors, Stephen Green, VK2TSG, with this week's board comment. As part of the WIA's commitment to working closely with affiliated clubs, we've been holding regular online meetings with club presidents or their delegates. At one such meeting last week, we received a good deal of feedback from over 50 groups and benefited from valuable discussions and insights. Much of this directly informs our priorities and decision-making, allowing us to better work towards what is needed by the amateur radio community in Australia and its territories. At our board meeting on Wednesday night, several of these subjects were considered, and we will continue to work hard on these issues. One such matter was the lack of a call book, at one time the main method of finding contact details of other Australian amateurs. To that end, I've been asked to set up a working group to develop an e-call book. This will be open to all Australian amateurs, and to maintain privacy, would be set up on an opt-in basis, with information being collected from the individuals. If you are interested in joining myself on the working group, and have a relevant skill set such as content curation, experience on a similar project, perhaps database management or web development, then please send an email to me, care of our WIA Secretary, Mr. Peter Clee, via the email address secretary@wia.org.au. The WIA would like to thank affiliated club presidents who attended, and ask that club members with suggestions or items of interest discuss these with their club president or delegate. This has been Stephen Green, VK2TSG. Until next time, 73.
This is Roger Harrison, VK2ZRH, Editor-in-Chief of Amateur Radio Magazine. Issue number 5 of Amateur Radio Magazine pranced off the press last Wednesday at the printer in Bairnsdale, gateway to the Gippsland Lakes, where I understand there are some new sites of interest to Parks on the Air participants. This issue's feature is Amateur Radio Adventures on Islands. No doubt many of you would have dreamed at one time or another of spending time living on an isolated island and the amateur radio adventures that you could have. Me too. And in fact, I got to live the dream. But that's a story for another time. Our 15-page feature covers amateur radio escapades on islands from the nearby South Pacific to the Indian Ocean and as far-flung as the UK. There are some quite adventurous tales to read. Some of them may raise a few gasps, but I'm assured that they are all true and verifiable. And for those among you who still harbour dreams of operating on the bands from an island, or any other exotic location for that matter, we have a comprehensive article on what you need to know to legally operate abroad. The theme of that article reminds me of what my scoutmaster said when I asked his daughter out on a date. Be prepared. Later in this issue, Amateur Radio Magazine's cartoonist in residence, Carmel Morris, VK2NO, explains how she mounted a Xiegu G90 transceiver in an ammo can so that she could have a ready-to-go radio. Our indefatigable World Radio Conference traveller and amateur radio advocate, Dale Hughes, VK1DSH, proves once again that not only can he talk the talk, as he demonstrated in Issue 2, but he also walks the walk because he's an inveterate home brewer. This time he delivers the details on how he went about receiving slow-scan TV images from satellites. To verify his success, he provided us a panoply of pictures. Maintaining the trend of technical topics in this issue, Gary Gibson, VK2DBN, exposes the myths behind S-meter readings, setting out the real world of signal strength standards and the truth about how various contemporary transceivers measure up. That's all from me for this week. This issue of Amateur Radio Magazine is brought to you by the numbers 5 and 9 and the letter B. More news next week. More guts, less gab. Serving hams across Australia since 1933. Proudly produced and printed in Australia. By the way, I was well prepared for my date with the Scoutmaster's daughter. I gave her a bunch of flowers and a small packet from my wallet, containing the concert tickets. I'm Roger Harrison, VK2ZRH, for VK1WIA News.
This is your WIA News. Just the facts.
In ACMA News, we all received mail from ACMA through the week on two topics, ham and CB. And I do suggest we all do a reread and visit the ACMA website. In short, however, ACMA have now made the Radio Communications Licence Conditions Amateur Licence Determination 2025, and that will commence 30th of September. The Australian Communications and Media Authority is making changes to the Citizens Band radio station class licence rules of 2015, which are about to sunset. Changes include permission to use on 27 MHz FM, which was previously restricted to AM or SSB. This aligns CB in Australia with operations in much of the rest of the world. The rules also remove the requirement that calls be initiated only on specific call channels, which give operators the freedom to begin contact on the channels they customarily use.
From here, there and everywhere, you tune to the Wireless Institute of Australia's National News Service. We are VK1WIA. Now with international news, Jason, VK2LAW.
Hello. On August 29th, 2025, the FCC Space Bureau granted a licence to AST Space Mobile for using the 430 to 440 MHz amateur radio allocation for telemetry tracking and command for 20 additional satellites. The FCC Space Bureau commented, at this time to address the concerns raised by amateur radio operators and the petitioner, we issue a limited grant to AST to conduct emergency operations in the 430 to 440 MHz band when no other bands are available for the 20 additional satellites authorised herein for a period not to exceed 24 hours. This decision is a result of over 2,500 comments to the FCC by ARRL and several IARU member societies. These, as the WIA secretary told our editor, included our own WIA. The IARU maintains its view that the use of Article 4.4 of the ITU radio regulations is inappropriate in this matter in particular, as there are existing allocations in the UHF spectrum for telemetry tracking and command operations. There are no technical or operational requirements for AST and Science LLC to intrude the 430 to 440 MHz spectrum, which is a primary amateur and amateur satellite service allocation in ITU Region 1 and in several countries in Region 2. The IARU and its member societies will continue to monitor the further development of this issue. The UK is poised to become Europe's first country offering legal satellite connectivity for smartphones. The regulator Ofcom has released a consultation authorising the move and is requesting comments no later than the 10th of October. Making this service available to standard mobile phones would provide the most remote parts of the UK with access needed to send texts, make phone calls and even connect to the internet. Functions presently not possible in areas without mobile phone coverage. This is known as direct-to-device, and operation would be permitted after Ofcom has provided a variation to the licences of mobile network operators. The change would also grant such use to mobile handsets and any other devices that make use of SIM cards. Data centres and the electrification of devices that previously ran on fossil fuels is driving increased demand for electricity around the world. China is addressing this with a mega project that is a new spin on their most famous piece of infrastructure. At 250 miles long, with a generating capacity of 100 gigawatts, the Great Solar Wall will be able to provide enough energy to power Beijing. Although the energy will more likely be used to power industrial operations also present in the Kabuchi Desert. NASA states the Kabuchi's sunny weather, flat terrain and proximity to industrial centres make it a desirable location for solar power generation. As an added bonus, previous solar installations in China have shown that they can help combat further desertification by locking dunes in place and providing shade for plants to grow. The Great Solar Wall is expected to be completed by 2030, with 5.4 gigawatts already installed in 2024. FCC eyes giving OK to mobile phone jamming at prisons. Jamming is illegal in the United States, but the FCC is considering whether to give prisons permission to jam cell phones of inmates. The Commission has scheduled a vote this month to remove a restriction that keeps the prisons from such jamming. The inmates are not authorised to have the phones, which the Commission said are being used to assist them in conducting criminal activity while behind bars. US law prohibits the use and even the sale or distribution of any equipment that can jam authorised signals such as radio communication, police radar, GPS devices and cell phones. The vote is scheduled for September 30th. The Young Ladies Radio League has announced 6 scholarship recipients for this year, 2 of each for the Ethel Smith Kilo 2 Lima Mike Bravo Memorial Scholarship, the Mary Lou Brown November Mike 7 November Memorial Scholarship, and the Martha Wessel Kilo 0 Echo Papa Echo Memorial Scholarship. Congratulations to Grace Pape Kilo 8 Lima Golf and Neeti Sonth Kilo November 60 Juliet Juliet for their selection as recipients of the Ethel Smith Scholarship. Grace, who was Amateur Radio Newsline's Young Ham of the Year in 2024, is a top contester and youth mentor. She's also studying electrical engineering at Cedarville University in Ohio. Neeti is a PhD student at the University of Colorado Boulder, where she's studying towards her PhD in Aerospace Engineering Sciences. She is the Communications Officer for the school's Amateur Radio Club. Madison Cloger, Kilo Charlie 1, Kilo Juliet Tango, and Cameron Ellis, Whiskey X-Ray 5 Charlie Alpha Mike, have been chosen for the Martha Wessel Scholarship. Madison is active in public service and emergency communications and worked recently with the Federal Emergency Management Agency in its Office of Planning and Preparedness. She has a bachelor's degree in emergency management and is pursuing her master's in cybersecurity. Cameron is entering her final year at Texas A&M University, where she is studying meteorology and atmospheric sciences. She became involved in ham radio through the school's Texas Aggie Storm Chasers organisation. Rachel Jones, Kilo Oscar 4 Hotel Lima Charlie, and Catherine Forson, Kilo Tango 5 Kilo Mike Foxtrot, are receiving the Mary Lou Brown Scholarship. Rachel, a PhD candidate in aerospace sciences at the University of North Dakota, has been a presenter on Radio Space Science for students and is currently the winter manager of KC-4USV at McMurdo Station in Antarctica. Catherine is a senior meteorology student at Texas A&M University and active as an officer in the campus radio club Whiskey 5 Alpha Charlie. She's also a liaison between the club and the Texas Aggie Storm Chasers, where she serves as radio and licensing director. Catherine received the ARRL's Hiram Percy Maxim Award in 2021. For WIA National News in Sydney, I'm Jason, VK2LAW.
We are VK1WIA. Now, operational news with VK4FUQ. Felix.
Hello there. Oceania DX OCDX contest. The OCDX contest is Oceania's only international style contest, where contacts with stations all over the globe are able to participate. Oceania stations may contact any station for QSO points, whilst non-Oceania stations are required to contact any station in Oceania for QSO points. The contest runs over the two first full weekends in October and has SSB, CW and SWL categories. Phone 4 and 5 October, CW 11, 12 October. Yoda Contest December. The Fisher's Ghost Amateur Radio Club are hosting the inaugural VK Yoda Contest the entire month of December. Then just 3 days from the end of what we call the VK Yoda Contest comes round 3 of the Yoda Contest, organised by the IAA Region 1 Youth Working Group in cooperation with the Hungarian Amateur Radio Society, December 29. A great way to gain extra contacts for the VK contest organised by Fisher's Ghost AR Club. Now the DEX window to the world. Special event call VI8POL is on air to Monday 29 September to celebrate the 8th Annual National Police Week in Australia. QSL is via VK5PAS. More information on VI8POL can be found on QRZ.com. Celebrating the 68th anniversary of Malaysia's independence, 31 August 1957, members of Terengganu DX, West Malaysia, are active as 9M1957M until 30 September. They are operating SSB, CW and FT8 on 8 of the 10 metres. QSL direct to 9M2 RDX. October 5th through October 11th, a special Canadian annual event will be promoting fire safety during Fire Prevention Week, with the theme being lithium-ion battery fire safety. Stations usually participating include KF2IRE, N1F through N9F, and VA3FIRE from Ontario, and a printable certificate is available from hemfire.com, where the event information is. VA3FIRE is a wildcard station that can help with earning the certificate. The various stations spot themselves on DX Summit, and as it is not a contest station, can be found on most HF bands working SSB and some FT8. Special call sign LA100A is active throughout 2025 to mark the 100th anniversary of the first amateur radio two-way contact between Norway and the USA in November 1925. QSL directly to LA100A via the Bureau or QRZ.com. Switzerland. 4UO ITU is the call sign for the International Amateur Radio Club at ITU HQ in Geneva and is in use to the end of the year in celebration of the 160th anniversary of the International Telecommunication Union. Croatia. 9A169 Tesla. This is a special call sign that will be used until 31 December in celebration of the 169th anniversary since the birth of Nikola Tesla, 10 July 1856. For WIA National News, I'm Felix, VK4FUQ, Inningham.
From here, there and everywhere, you tune to the Wireless Institute of Australia's National News Service. We are VK1WIA. Now, special interest group news with Cole, VK3GTV.
Hello, first up this week in Worldwide Special Interest Group News, it's Final Frontier. The International Space Station has been in orbit around the Earth, at least in some form, since November of 1998, but not without help. In the vacuum of space, an object in orbit can generally be counted on to remain zipping around more or less forever, but the station is low enough to experience a bit of atmospheric drag. It isn't much, but it saps enough velocity from the station that without regular reboosts to speed it back up, the orbiting complex would eventually come crashing down. Earlier this month, a specially modified SpaceX Cargo Dragon became the newest addition to the list of spacecraft that can perform a reboost. The craft will boost the station several times over the rest of the year, which will provide valuable data for when it comes time to reverse the process and deorbit the ISS in the future. SpaceX has already been awarded the contract to develop and operate the deorbit vehicle, which will ultimately be used to slow down the ISS and put it on a targeted re-entry trajectory sometime after 2030. Now that the company has demonstrated the ability to add additional thrusters and propellant to a standard Dragon spacecraft via a module installed in the trunk, it's likely that the deorbit vehicle will take a similar form. So while the development of this new capability is exciting from an operational standpoint, especially given deteriorating relations with Russia, it's also a reminder that the orbiting laboratory is entering its final days. Worldwide Special Interest Group News, Summits on the Air, Worldwide Flora and Fauna Program, Parks on the Air, and other adventure groups. The VKFF National Get-Together is happening on October 24 to 27 this year in Canberra. With more details, here's Paul, VK5PAS.
Not long to go now before the 2025 VKFF National Get-Together in Canberra. This event is for those interested in the Worldwide Flora and Fauna Park Program, no matter if you're a beginner or an experienced park activator or hunter. The get-together commences on Friday the 24th of October and concludes on Monday the 27th of October 2025. The get-together includes a Friday evening dinner, Saturday presentations, a raffle with excellent prizes, a Saturday evening dinner with a guest speaker, a Sunday morning barbecue breakfast and linked dipole construction session, Sunday VKFF park activations, a Sunday evening dinner and some visits to Canberra tourist locations on Monday. You must register to attend this event. Walk-ups will not be accepted. You can attend whatever part of the get-together you choose, but you must register. Registration closes on Friday the 10th of October 2025. More information on the 2025 VKFF National Get-Together can be found on the WWFF Australia website at www.ffaustralia.com. Many thanks for listening. 73, Paul, VK5, Papa Alpha Sierra, the VKFF National Coordinator.
Thanks, Paul. Next up, Worldwide Special Interest Groups, IOTA, Islands on the Air. Just a couple, EU 10 and 1. Listen for Claudio, HB9OAU operating as SV5/HB9OAU from Carpathos Island in the Dodecanese Islands, IOTA number EU001, from the 13th through to the 25th of September. He'll operate SSB and CW on 40 through to 6 metres. See QRZ.com for QSL details. Members of the Inverness District Amateur Radio Society will be active as GS0RIV from the island of North Uist, EU010, now until the 26th of September. They'll operate SSB, CW and FT8, FT4. QSOs will be uploaded to LOTW, Clublog, EQSL and QRZ Logbook. Paper QSLs, unfortunately, will not be available. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, Astronomy and Wireless Weather. Like a solar storm itself, a controversy over solar cycle predictions is heating up. Andy Morrison, K9AWM, tells us more.
As this year brings the solar maximum of cycle 25, a different kind of solar storm has been raging, one that challenges the long-standing and prevailing paradigm scientists use to help arrive at forecasts. Sociologist and statistician Frank Howell, Kilo 4 Fox Mike Hotel, has done an extensive study of this so-called NASA-NOAA I-SAID prediction formula, which utilizes a consensus methodology, pitting it against the work of solar physicist Scott McIntosh of Linker Space. In this busy, high-profile year for the sun and its activity, Frank has written extensively and presented a series of virtual talks on the subject in the U.S. and overseas. He has also discussed the competing models extensively in his blog, K4FMH.com. Frank's most recent talk, Progress in the Revolution, Sunspot Cycle Forecast Accuracy at Cycle 25, was given to Pen 9 Ham in the UK and can be seen on their YouTube channel. This is Andy Morrison, K9AWM.
Whether the NASA team or the Macintosh team prevails, one thing is certain, like CMEs themselves, this scientific competition over solar predictions promises to rage for some time to come. Thank you, Andy, for that report. Worldwide Special Interest Groups Maritime, the Battleship Iowa Amateur Radio Association, BIARA, NI6BB, will celebrate the U.S. Navy's 250th birthday with radio operations from the 4th to the 19th of October. Frequencies will be on or near those listed on biara.org. Battleship Iowa Amateur Radio Association will use modes at the discretion of the individual control operators manning NI6BB, and operating hours are expected to be between 1400 and 2400 UTC. QSLs will be available per the detailed instructions found on the biara.org website. Next up, it's Worldwide Special Interest Group News Radio Amateur Youngtimers, YOTA, Youngsters on the Air, with Alan, VK2COD.
Thank you, Cole. This week our story takes us inside the pages of a new fiction book for young readers. There are so many dimensions to Laurelyn Roberts' KO4LBS. The Florida resident is an educator, a storyteller, and a ham, something she has wanted to be since childhood. Although she enjoys CW, one of her preferred modes when she is off the air is fiction. In many of the books she's written, she used that mode to communicate with faith, passion, reaching out to most especially to young adult readers. In her latest book, released on 5 September, Laurelyn shows another dimension of her work, one that is reflected in its title, 8th Dimension Frequency. It is a fictional fantasy story of a teenager who gains fluency as an amateur radio operator, but off the air, struggles to communicate as a caregiver for her mother who has dementia. The young girl named Trumana believes that her faith and her future has been shattered, and she questions why things happen as they do in this universe. Like Laurelyn, the protagonist at the core of this tale is a communicator, a gift that serves her as she begins to make some unusual and unexpected connections via the digital modes. Laurelyn told our US sister service Newsline in an email that her hope is that young readers will discover amateur radio and something more by hearing Trumana's story. In fact, perhaps they will end up on the same frequency. I hope we end up making a contact on the same frequency in December during the VK YOTA contest. For WIA National News, I am Alan, VK2COD. Now back to you, Cole.
Thanks, Alan. Next up, Worldwide Special Interest Groups, Rescue Radio. The RSGB has issued a note re the intense flooding in East Malaysia. Although last Monday, 15th, it would still be prudent to adhere to the request from the Malaysian Amateur Radio Transmitters Society's Disaster Management Committee to keep 7.110 MHz free for use by teams helping in the flooded area of the Papua District, Sabah. In one California county, radios are becoming more and more of a safety net. In Sonoma County, California, floods, wildfires and earthquakes are among the best reasons for becoming a radio operator. With that in mind, the county's Department of Emergency Management has entered the second year of a 3-year program that includes helping more Sonoma Springs area residents to get licensed and get on the air. The initiative has been funded through a $70,000 federal grant. Emergency management officials are now preparing for training sessions in October that will prepare area residents for an exam leading toward a license to use handheld radios, especially at times when cellular telephone networks fail. The radios are part of General Mobile Radio Services, or GMRS, a licensed service operating between 462 and 467 MHz. The focus is on residents in the community of Sonoma Springs, which is classified as an evacuation zone when there are wildfires. The county's program can supply as many as 175 of the radios to participants who successfully complete the program. For WIA National News, I'm Cole, VK3GTV.
Well, here we are, the social scene. Let's see what's happening for the rest of September, not far to go, and also right through October. In VK4, it's the Central Highlands Amateur Radio Club's Hamfest and AGM, September 26. This at the Marraboon Powerboat and Ski Club near Emerald in central Queensland. In VK2, it's West Lakes Field Day, 8 a.m, October 26 on the club grounds. Back to VK4, the Townsville Amateur Radio Club's Cardinal Gathering Field Day, October 3, Myunga Creek Caravan Park and Campgrounds. VK5, AREG's Amateur Radio and Electronic Sales, Sunday, October 26 at David Roche Park, Kilbourne. And October 24 through 27 in Canberra, it's the VKFF National Get-Together. Now, till next we meet, I'm Graham, VK4BB. Walk softly.
From Australia, this has been the Wireless Institute of Australia with the weekly news service. This broadcast is in text, audio and video and is accessed on wia.org.au.
Courtesy of Bevan, VK5 BD's ATV and YouTube channel, this has been WIA National News. We're back now, live and local, and your voice, your callbacks. And don't forget, tick like.